Welcome, everybody, to today's Integrator Mastery Learning Series. Thank you for the support and excitement as you join us here today. We are recording today's session, as you just heard, and it will be posted in the Integrator Hub early next week, so you can rewatch any portions or tell your IMF friends who are not able to be here about it. And today we have Julie Diamond with us, who some of you saw yesterday at QIE. She's here to help and support. So if you need anything, reach out to either one of us. Our ground rules, as a quick refresher: no theory, stick with your lived experiences during any Q&A or workshopping that we might do today. Wear your integrator hat if you're in more than one seat in your organization. This is a safe space, so no self-promoting or recruiting or pitching, and what's said here stays here. Best practices are to have your camera on so that we can see you and make this as much like we are in person as possible. Stay focused, take great notes, and then just having full engagement, participating, asking questions, sharing insights. We're really excited. And so next, I would like to introduce you to Mallory. She is a 10-year systems and ops veteran turned marketer at Trainual, host of the show Inside the Process. She's a content creator, jiu-jitsu practitioner, and proud mom of 2 boys. Whether you're looking to improve at work, boost productivity, or completely shift your approach to work and life, she will help you make that happen. So without further delay, Mallory, welcome.
Hi, it's great to be here. Any other jiu-jitsu people in the crowd? Sometimes there's usually always one, but maybe the crowd's not big enough yet.
I feel like Raquel is, but I don't know that she is here.
See, there's always one. Okay. Do you want me to share my opening slide?
Yeah, go right ahead. Kick us off.
All right, cool beans. Well, hello, everybody. I am super excited to be here and chatting with you about how to get your team to fall in love with processes. All right. So thank you so much for the introduction, Jonathan. You mastered saying jujitsu, so 2 times for the win. A little backstory about me. I started in aerospace and defense contracting, where I had my first taste of Lean Six Sigma, if you're familiar with it. I had a VP back then tell me that I had a real, quote unquote, natural talent for processes and improvement. And he invited me to be part of our Lean Leaders program that we had in this organization. To put it kind of into perspective for everyone that's listening today, I was a 19-year-old female with no college education on a team of mostly men with master's degrees and many years of military service experience. And so my mentor and now friend was a retired Air Force chief and really helped me to see that I could do anything that I put my mind to, and really took me under his wing. No pun intended, but it is kind of funny. But he allowed me to sort of be the prototype for the Change Champion program that I would go on to build. So that said, that business was largely centered around manufacturing and distribution. And I really fell in love with the service side of things. And so I moved my family from northeastern Pennsylvania all the way here to Houston, Texas, which is where I am now, where I worked at multiple PEO firms, if you're familiar with the PEO space. And I started as a manager and then director of continuous improvement and operations for almost a decade before finding my way here to Trainual. But along the way, I did finally get that degree, and I also got a black belt in Lean Six Sigma. There's a running joke that the reason I joined jiu-jitsu is because every time I would tell people I was a black belt in Lean Six Sigma, they would go, "Oh, so you can beat me up?" And I wanted to be able to say yes. So I started martial arts much, much later, but that is the kind of the running joke that I tell. But the big question that I think is probably on some minds, at least, is how the heck did you end up in marketing? And the answer to that is really simple. I get to use kind of my natural wiring and years of experience to impact hundreds, if not thousands, more businesses than I ever could as a solo CI. And I undoubtedly get the best of both worlds. And I do feel very fortunate for that every day. So I'm also a big content creator, which Jonathan shared with you. I love sharing my stories and my experiences that I've lived along the way. So I'd love to connect with you all out on LinkedIn. I'll give you a minute to scan this QR code if you want to connect with me out there. So I'll just give you a couple seconds to do that. I just love getting to follow and chat with people that I meet in these sessions. But it really brings us pretty full circle to what I get to do here today, which is share with you what I've learned along this journey and how to get your team to fall in love with processes the same way that you and I fell in love with processes at some point along the way. So I'd love to just start by removing distractions. So if you can minimize other tabs, really get locked in, grab a pen and a paper because I'm going to have some interactive things that I'd love for you to do along the way. And as we go, we'll be giving out some giveaways too. So definitely prepare to participate if you're interested in goodies. Give you guys a second to get situated. Okay, so this video that's about to play is a little less than 2 minutes long. And I know it's kind of silly, but it sets the stage for what we're going to be talking about today. So as it plays, I want you to write down or think about the first memory, think way, way back to the first memory you have of when you fell in love with processes yourself and really realized the importance of them and what that was for you. So really think about back when you were an IC. Was there a moment where you fell in love with processes and said, hey, I'm going to make this my career. I'm going to become an integrator, or I'm going to do this for other companies. Just think about a time where you can say, yeah, that was like a clicking moment for me. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and then we can share some of our stories.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. Now E is even more than anyone that you adore and love. Love is all that I can give. Love is more than just a game to if I can make it, take my heart, but please don't break it. Love has made me and you.
Who remembers that movie? Anybody have kids that watched that movie, or maybe you watched it? I thought that would be a good way to set the stage for what we're talking about today. But hopefully you were thinking as that was playing about your first memory of falling in love with processes. Does anybody want to share their story? I can only see Jonathan. So
I'm sorry. I remember helping to process orders, customer service and order entry, and just really enjoyed like documenting every step of the process to make, because there was enough variability in what we were doing. And it was a way for me to just make sure that I was always doing it really, really consistently. And then also, as we finally were bringing other people, so I didn't have to be the person to do all that order entry of this little tiny startup company. That was the way to train everybody else on the team.
I love that.
I have to say, I hated that white tuxedo kid when I was a boy.
That he was like the nemesis in that movie. And just like, just seeing that smarmy little kid again, man, just brings back all those old feelings. When I was, I think 12 years old, my dad, so my last name is Huff, my dad wrote up the tough stuff, how to do anything with excellence and satisfaction program. And it was a series of like 25 pages and 8.5 by 11 that he wrote out by hand. That was my instructions on how he was going to teach me to learn to paint our kitchen cabinets. And it consisted of, you take the first step, you lay out all the pieces, you take a look at where you're trying to go, and then you take the first step. And then after you do that, you take a moment to sit and look at what you've done and evaluate what you would do differently next time. And then you proceed to the next step. And so the tough stuff, how to do anything with excellence and satisfaction program was the beginning of my love affair with process.
Man, I would just love to hear that like whole story. Your dad sounds like he was such a cool person. I think you should write like a blog or something and share that. I'd love to read it. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
I don't know if I remember really falling in love with process ever. But I guess if there is I think the EOS process is something that I have fallen in love with. Probably 2016 was when I was introduced to it. We've been running at it since 2015. And it's probably one of the processes I've been most consistent in sticking with and refining and improving. And yeah, I think I love the experience that I have with it, and obviously the results too.
So maybe you're our core audience today. We're gonna try to resonate with the Reeds of the world. All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing. So, okay, let me just kind of set the stage for what the takeaways are for today. So now that we're just kind of feeling connected to the heart of our discussion, this is what we'll be talking about in the next 80-ish, maybe less minutes or so. So, understand and close the process love language gap that we were just talking about. Prepare to handle process objections. Learn the LOVE framework. Unlock employee process and training motivators, which is a big one. How do we speak their language? Create process champions. This one's near and dear to my heart. And then, as I've said, win prizes for engaging and sticking around for a special gift from us to you for everyone who's on live today. All right, you ready? Let's do this. Okay, that pen and paper that I asked you to get, I want you to draw a line down the middle of a small section of your paper and list, I guess, maybe like 3 or 4 lines, and think about the first 3 things that come to mind when you think about the benefits of documented processes for you personally as an integrator or the leaders that you work with, but really thinking about it from that angle, and write them down on the left side of the paper. Give everybody about maybe 2 minutes to do that. Okay, it looks like mostly everybody's ready. Does everyone have 3 things to the left? Thumbs up,
Yes.
Thumbs up. Cool. Awesome. All right, hang on to those because we're going to need them in a minute. But for now, we're going to keep moving. All right, time for some honesty here. Who's ready to be honest? All right, raise your hand if you've ever tried to sell the benefit of processes by saying something like, documented processes will make us more streamlined and scalable.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. How about consistent processes will drive higher retention and profitability? Okay. All right. And raise your hand if you've said we could drive down our costs if we had a better process for this. They're just a couple random examples that I've heard. But I think I should have saw everyone's hands going up at some point for one of these, because as integrators, it's your job to lean on metrics like scalability, profitability, cost reduction, compliance, customer satisfaction, because we know that those are critical for the business and for what we do. But there's a catch. What resonates with leadership and the teams that you serve and drives your success as an integrator isn't going to be what resonates with the team and those that the leaders are serving. While these metrics are great for the company's bottom line, they don't always connect with the day-to-day motivators of the people that are actually on the front line doing the work. To truly get your team to buy in, and dare I even say, maybe, fall in love with processes, we need to focus on what matters to them. Things like less stress, more efficiency, better work-life balance, and feeling like their contributions are making a valued impact to the organization. This discussion today is not about getting leadership to fall in love with processes. That's a different conversation. This conversation is about getting your team to love processes. So let's not think about them the same way as we go through this. Okay, with that in mind, take another maybe 2 minutes or so and write down the first 3 things that come to mind when you think about what your team feels the benefits of documented processes are. And I want you to write those on the right side of the paper. And I'll give you like another 2 minutes or so to just think about that. All right, everybody have their 3? Okay. Here's a side-by-side of the most common words used by companies and leaders when it comes to the benefits of processes versus that of the frontline employees. So think about your ICs, your individual contributors that are using the processes. And these are based on research that we've done, audience polling, our own experiences, and our customer community. So I want you to look at your words side by side and also compare as I'm talking through this. But we have some commonalities here like efficiency and consistency, clarity, productivity, accountability, and structure. These were some of the things that both sides could agree on, but there are also some really glaring differences. Leaders said scalability, standardization, continuity, control, which is a scary word for ICs, delegation. And ICs said they were looking for stability, autonomy, skill building, growth, job satisfaction, less stress, work-life balance, among other things. So see, there's a really stark difference here. Anybody want to share their own side-by-side? I'd love to hear what you guys came up with, your 3 from left to right.
I will.
Yeah.
Awesome. Merlin, I saw you first. You want to go first?
Sure. So on the left, I've got, you called me out right away, scalability, incremental improvement, training leading to confidence, leading to retention. Leadership practice number 1, giving clear direction. Leadership practice number 2, providing the necessary tools. And management practice number 1, keeping expectations clear. That's what I had on the left side first. On the individual contributor side, I know what I'm supposed to do. I can supervise others more easily. I will have a competent team. My job will be easier. I will be more confident. I'll be able to be really good at my job. I will be able to make bigger contributions. I won't have to work as long or as hard. I can get the job done with fewer people, making my management job easier. I know that's kind of like blurring the lines there between individual contributors and managers, but that was what came to mind.
No, I think that's great. You hit on several of these. That's awesome. Anybody else want to share theirs?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
Or volunteer. So on the left side, I didn't do nearly as much work as Merlin did, which doesn't surprise me, but that's all right. I said the 3 things I said originally were simple, efficient, and employee engagement. And then on my right side, from the IC perspective, I wrote, they know what to expect. They have confidence in everyone's contributions, and they have a clear understanding of where they fit in.
Ooh, I like that one. That last one, where they fit. That's a good
Those are verbatim, almost verbatim comments I've had from team members. So I take no credit for them.
Hey, you're listening. That's good. Reed, did you want to share yours? I saw you come off mute before.
Sure. Yeah. On my left side, I had results. Better results, greater freedom, and growing our people for our individuals, easier teamwork, increased quality of work, and confidence.
Confidence is a big one. That seems to be the theme so far. All right. Awesome. Anybody else want to share before we keep moving?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Do I just ask, do I have a wicked echo? Because the last call I was on, I was told I stayed on mute because it was pretty bad.
You don't have an echo.
Excellent. From my side, I said consistency in results, employees knowing what to do next, and training new people. From the individual contributors, training what good looks like. Same job done by the same positions, and workflows on who does what and where their reach ends. Same as Chad. That's kind of feedback what we have from our current.
I love that theme too. Impact. Do you guys, when you are collecting feedback, are you doing surveys? Are you just listening in conversation? It sounds like you guys are collecting this information pretty regularly, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah, a little bit of all that actually. We do 2 employee engagement surveys every year. Well, we do 2 of them twice a year. So every 6 months we do 2 different surveys that are geared towards just measuring employee engagement. And then we also do once a year we do the org checkup across the organization. And then just random feedback through one-to-ones and quarterly conversations and water cooler chats and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for us, we do a Q12, Gallup Q12 for our employee engagement one. I don't know if that's the same you use, Chad.
We use Q12, and then we also use a modified Net Promoter Score, what we call an employee Net Promoter Score.
The questions specifically in the Q12, because it's 12 questions that I think I'm thinking of with this question is the first one, which is I know it's expected of me at work.
Yep.
It's Q1, and then further down, I think it's like Q8. My coworkers are committed to quality work, and those are 2 that we'll get feedback on. They're relatively strong, but I think the expectation is those should be really close to 5, across the board, and ours aren't there yet. So I think got room to improve.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those. So I think the overall message here is really that what you as an integrator or what a leader deems a benefit is often a benefit to the company, and that's not going to be what an employee deems a benefit. And without that understanding, we'll never be able to break through those barriers that tend to prevent us from being able to have solid processes that are being used every day and to meet the goals of the company, but also meet the needs of the employee. Okay. So obviously we talked about the big disconnect, and now we want to figure out ways that we can close the gap between the left side and the right side of the little charts that we created. So today we're going to explore how to speak the right language and connect processes to what truly matters to our teams and getting them to fall in love with processes the same way we did, except for Reed, who's maybe on the fence about whether or not he loves processes. All right. So the reality is there's an undeniable disconnect between what leaders and teams need to hear to appreciate processes. So we want to learn how to speak that language. And if we can't, then we're not tapping into their core motivators that will make everyone successful. So telling Bob and IT about how a new software deployment process will increase operational efficiency, it probably isn't going to get him super fired up about executing on that. But explaining how those processes might eliminate, late night emergency patches and firefighting, and will give him more work-life balance so he doesn't feel like he's always connected, and maybe even opportunities to grow into new skill sets, expand the IT department. Those are things that now you've got his attention. Sarah, in marketing, isn't super sold about process improvements driving higher customer retention rates. However, if you position those same processes as giving her team more time to focus on creative campaign ideation, now they're stoked and they're all ears because you're speaking the marketer's language. This is Jose. He's in sales, and he's not super motivated by processes that increase profitability metrics. But what he is motivated by is less admin work, because we know salespeople hate admin work. And he is all ears about freeing up more time so that he can sell more and earn more commissions. And maybe even go from a sales rep to an AE with bigger commission opportunity. So now he's bought in. Last example for you. This is the shipping crew. And they're probably going to roll their eyes at your process flow chart aimed at reducing product return waste. But if we frame it as clear steps that prevent labor-intensive rework and lets them get home to their families sooner, or maybe even end in a bonus or something at the end of the year if we can save costs, now we're talking their language. So we're not looking away from the goals that we all have, but we're just learning how to flip those and communicate them to the team. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're flipping the table. Instead of focusing on metrics and bottom line impact, we're exploring how processes directly enhance the employee experience in a way that matters to them. How do we get teams to understand and fall in love with processes? By understanding their process love language. But first, I'm going to level set with everyone here. The process is the foundation, not the restriction. I'm sure you already know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It should provide a supportive framework for consistency and ideal results, but have enough wiggle room, when possible, to let each person bring their own special above and beyond magic to it. The key is to design processes that strike that perfect balance, providing enough structure to ensure consistency and quality, but also baking in some of that flexibility for our teams to apply their special talents, their experiences, their drive and need to be creative and expressive in the work that they do, so that they're not bored and just looking for the next best thing, right? Always one foot out the door. We don't want that. So think of it kind of like a coloring book. The outlines are already there as the guide, and that's the process. But we get to choose how we color the pages and create methods to really make each process our own. And without the outline, it's just a blank canvas, daunting for some and lacking direction for everyone. But the outline alone, without our personal touch, would be dull, lifeless, boring, black and white. It's people who make processes successful. So we have to set the expectation and allow top performers to exceed it. Okay. I know you all love a good acronym, so I felt like I had to come up with one so that I had street cred with this crew. So I came up with L.O.V.E, your processes acronym. So the first one is learn their motivators, understand what drives your team, and discover how processes can align with their personal and professional goals, making sure the processes resonate with what truly matters to them. The next one is overcome objections, and we're going to focus a lot on that today. So focusing on addressing objections and challenges that hinder your team's productivity and satisfaction, so that we can design processes that directly address the pain points that they're feeling, making work smoother and, of course, more fulfilling. V is voice and visibility. So we really want to encourage our teams to have a voice, which you all are obviously doing incredibly well. So I love to hear that. I actually think that's pretty rare, but I should have known with this group. And the intention is to improve processes based on their feedback, and then make those processes highly visible and accessible, showing how they're the core of what everyone's collectible success is framed around. We obviously do this here in Trainual. There are a lot of different tools I know that the EOS team uses to create this, but you just want to make sure that your processes are super visible. Don't tell me that you put them in SharePoint or Word docs, because we can't be friends. This transparency and inclusion fosters a sense of ownership and engagement. So that's voice and visibility. And then the last one is E, and it's evolve with feedback loops. Implement continuous feedback loops to learn and refine and enhance your processes. Celebrate small successes, very important to me. Recognize early adopters. We'll talk a little bit about that with the champion program as well. And keep processes adaptable and supportive, ensuring they remain relevant and effective. So this was my framework that really emphasizes understanding, inclusivity, continuous improvement to really make processes valuable and engaging for everyone. How'd I do creating an acronym for you guys? Do we like it? Thumbs up? Awesome. Okay, this is my favorite GIF for the entire presentation. So I'm going to give you a minute to read it because I laughed for a ridiculous amount of time when I first put it on here. But with that in our minds, let's look at some common objections that I've faced hundreds of times in my years in continuous improvement operations. Objections are inevitable. They're often valid. And sometimes they're just a way for people to be heard. Sometimes they just want to vent. There's another word that I almost said, but I caught myself and I didn't say it. But sometimes they just need an ear and they just want to complain about stuff. And that's okay too. Knowing how to identify the difference and handle in a healthy way is the key to breaking down barriers and getting the team truly bought in. So this is the heart of what we're going to be talking about today. Let's look at some of those objections. Here's the first one. You know I had to start with this one because we've all heard it, but we've all done it this way. We've always done it this way. So why start documenting now? Who's heard this one? Yeah. Really? Just one? Let's see. One hand was up. That's it? Two maybe? Okay. I've heard this one probably the most in my career and time. Doing continuous improvement and documenting processes is, hey, we've always done it this way. Why are you trying to change what we've always done? So I'm curious to hear from you how you might handle this objection. Anybody want to try to master this one? Someone said to you, we've always done it this way. So why start documenting now? How might you handle it?
I think you would. I've just added, for just simple onboarding for new people, sharing information on how someone that hasn't always been doing it that way can have an understanding of the process for what to do and why and all that stuff.
Jason, did you want to jump in too?
Sure. I think I would handle it that we want to hear from you to see if we can make your job more efficient for you by just taking a fresh look at the process because you've been doing it. I'm sure you've uncovered ways that you believe can make the process more efficient.
Super valid. Here's how I said I would handle it. So I'd highlight the risks and emphasize the benefits when it comes to growth. So one of the things I say all the time is great, but what got you here is not going to get you there. So if you want to stay the same in the same role that you're in, do the same things every day, and that's how you want to live your life, then great. But that doesn't come with any promotions. It doesn't come with any bonuses, and it probably doesn't come with any pay increases either. And now they're like, wait a minute. I don't think I want to do it this way anymore. I think I'm ready to change. So whether it's onboarding new team members, covering for someone on PTO, or scaling up operations to make room for growth and promotions, documenting processes protects employees from stress and uncertainty of having to scramble when things inevitably change. But it also creates an opportunity for the company to support the next phase of their career journey, which is always really important to people, or usually if they're, high performers and they have a future with your company, then they're interested in that. So this one goes back to, if we looked at our left and right, career growth, less stress, and stability. Okay. Here's an honest one. I don't like processes. Pretty straightforward. Sometimes you get those direct people. How do we handle this one? I know it's a tough one.
You know what else is a process? Payroll. Payroll is a process. So if you don't like processes, I don't really like payroll process either.
I like your style, Merlin. Okay, here's what I said. Acknowledge their feedback and dig deeper to understand what they're really saying and how you can help. Invite them to share what they dislike and what could be improved. Encourage open dialogue and position their input as valuable to refining or just getting started with documenting and processes. Consider small adjustments. One of the things that I think is so valuable here, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with it, but it never hurts to be reminded, and that's quick wins. The more you can give someone like this a quick win, the quicker you can build trust and continue moving forward. And then determine how and when you might make larger scale improvements and always give them sights on that in some way. So usually people like this are, I don't know if you're familiar with like DISC assessment. I call these my high Ds, right? They're really direct. They're a little opinionated, but they're usually the ones who can get stuff done as well. And so if you can give them sights on how their feedback has actually been mapped out into like a project management tool or however you document kind of that vision to let them know that you're actually doing something with their feedback can go a long way with these people.
One of the things that I've used in the past effectively, especially with high D personality types, is pointing out the learnings from the Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, where they talked, I think it was in that book that they talked about building a sales process that was so watertight that they were able to observe that just by having their sales agents wear blue sport coats, they made more sales. And so I point out to them, I go, well, if you don't like process, like think about how easy that is, like literally just putting on a different color sport coat. But you only find that if we've got a dialed in process. So why don't we get that dialed in process that you can figure out how to dress in the morning and you'll make more sales.
I love that because you're sharing it in a way that directly and immediately benefits them. Hey, something this simple is going to make you more sales. And so you have their attention and you're speaking their language versus, hey, if you wear this blue jacket, we're going to make more money for the business and be more profitable. But by voicing their concerns and seeing tangible changes based on their feedback, employees will feel heard, they're going to feel valued, they're going to feel like they matter. This involvement not only empowers them, but also gives them a sense of ownership over the process, making it more likely that they're going to embrace it moving forward. And if we're lucky, keep up on the documentation. Here's another one. Who am I documenting this for? It feels kind of pointless. Have we heard this one? How do we handle it?
The good news, you're not going to be doing the documenting. And this, I'm not being tongue in cheek. I'll have people just walk through the process and narrate what they're doing on video, and then have somebody else do the process extraction. So literally just do your job to talk about it.
I like that. Utilizing different skill sets and strengths on the team. I'm gonna take a note on that one. Anyone else? Here's what I said. Clearly define the audience and purpose of the documentation, and then connect the dots by showing how well-documented processes can lead to better collaboration and opportunities to hire additional support. You can also paint the picture of how documented processes let other teams and stakeholders understand the impact they're making on the team, making it easier to advocate for raises, promotions, and other non-monetary recognition, which goes a really long way. Anybody have like a great way that they praise folks or offer recognition that's non-monetary? I always feel like people have such good ideas in these types of sessions.
We are very old school where we do note card. So every week in our L10, part of our segue, where we write handwritten notes to our employees that are living our core values. And this aligns nicely with one of them.
I love that. And I love that you're old school. There's a binder up there that I've had for the last probably 11 years. And I still have all of the handwritten notes I've ever received from some of my old school leaders. And, the bonuses have come and gone, the swag has come and gone, the little trinkets have kind of, come and gone, and some of the recognition is lost along the way. But I have all of those handwritten notes still, and I hold them very near and dear to my heart. So please never stop doing that. Anybody else have a cool way that they show recognition that's non-monetary? At Trainual, we have different core values, obviously, as all companies do, and they're connected to our praise channel. And so if folks nominate each other or say something nice about each other and they tag one of the core values, it'll go into that person's performance review in Lattice. So everything's kind of connected, and it'll also display in our praise channel. And then we use those to select our Wooly winners. And basically a Wooly, it's a little sheep that came from cloning yourself, which is what we hope that Trainual does for our customers. It's like helps them to clone themselves. So we came up with the Wooly, but each Wooly represents one of our core values, and it's a way for people to feel really bought into the mission, and people get stoked to win those at our quarterly all hands. It's always a really big deal at the end of our meetings. So that's one little trinket that I can give you in terms of what we do. But non-monetary recognition goes so far as well. But understanding who benefits from their efforts not only makes the work feel meaningful, but also positions them as leaders and experts in their area. By creating process documentation, they're not just creating better operational flows, they're building a foundation for their future growth. Whether that means paving the way for their promotion or just expanding their role and responsibilities, which some people get stoked about too, or making a case for additional help. It's an opportunity to showcase their expertise, drive positive change, and contribute to a larger vision that extends beyond their current role. Okay. This one kind of has two. Processes change too quickly. It's not worth documenting. Or another one I hear in this space is documented processes take too much time and they add no immediate value. Anybody want to share how they've tackled this one?
Yeah, two separate responses to the two separate objections. In terms of everything changes too quickly, we're aiming for the 20% that does 80% of the work. So I'm not expecting that we're going to have screenshots for every single little step, because as soon as a platform changes the color of the button, the process is now defunct. So I'm going for general guidelines of what the major key points are in the process. And then those processes are going to be the major processes in the business that are done with great frequency. If you've got a super marginal process that never needs to be done, that not a whole lot is riding on, we're probably not going to spend time documenting that to the nth degree. And in terms of it takes too much time or effort, I just quote Ovid to them, prefer adabdura, dolor hic tibi, proterit olim.
Wait, no, it's this arm. I literally have an Ovid tattoo.
Nice.
Mine is a little different though. It's have patience and endure. Someday your struggles will be useful to you. But yeah, great philosopher. I love both your responses. I answered the first one pretty similarly, and implement a living document approach. Obviously, that's what Trainual is built around. There's a lot of tools that you can use to do that, but making sure that the document is living and it has routine updates. And then for the second one, I said, emphasize the long-term payoff, like eliminating duplicate work and the long-term benefit of what change signifies, which is raises, career growth, whatever it is that they're motivated by. Keep employees in control rather than constantly scrambling to adapt. It's like having a toolkit that evolves with them, saving them from the frustration of those outdated methods, gives them sort of a clear, manageable path forward. It reduces stress, which we know they said is really important to them. And also something we haven't talked a ton about, but decision fatigue. And that's very real for everyone. Small updates regularly are much easier than big process update projects that are overwhelming and super time consuming. So small little increments can go a long way. And then for the second one, I said, while the initial effort feels like extra work, it's an investment that pays off by significantly reducing time spent on future tasks and creating opportunity for career growth. Imagine cutting hours of rework or confusion, leading to more time for meaningful, rewarding work, or some people don't care about that. They just want to leave work on time. So whatever your flavor, it's there. Plus, the investment in documentation now allows for more opportunity in the future. This one, I don't know that people hear as much, but I've definitely heard it, and I felt like it was worth addressing. Has anybody else ever gotten this? Processes are too restrictive. They kill creativity. They don't align to the way I like to work. I think sometimes what people are actually saying is, I'm not comfortable creating or using processes, and I don't feel I have the knowledge or skill sets for process documentation. I think sometimes there's a hidden fear with this one. Anybody heard this one?
I had something similar with a response of basically, came to a smaller family company, not a big corporation, to not operate that way. It's pretty much on the similar line.
Anybody else have an experience with this one and how you handled it?
I think I'm better equipped after your coloring book analogy earlier to handle this objection moving forward.
I love that. So here's what I said. I said, frame processes as tools that eliminate repetitive tasks, freeing up space for that creativity, the coloring book, if you will. By taking care of the repetitive and the mundane, processes actually give employees the freedom to focus on the things that they're super passionate about. And in Trainual, we launched the Delegation Planner, which actually allows you to use the EOS model to be able to rate things that people are great at and that they love, or maybe that they are good at but they don't love, and all of those things. And so we can kind of figure out what those are, and we can allow them to innovate and problem solve and come up with fresh ideas and be excited to be part of the company versus the same day in and day out mundane task that they feel like is just wasting their time. It's like having a clean canvas for their best work and their best selves. For the second one, processes don't align to how I work. My take on this was adapt processes to align with natural workflows and invite feedback for continuous improvement. Sometimes we want to do things for the organization that we just feel like are going to be, quick wins for the company, but in the long term, they create terrible employee experiences or terrible workflows. So we want to make sure that what we're doing to pacify or to accomplish the business objectives are actually still promoting favorable employee experiences. Processes that are adaptable to individual work styles mean employees don't have to force themselves into rigid structures that don't allow for creativity or growth. They can perform at their best in a way that feels natural and comfortable, enhancing both productivity and, this is one we haven't talked about yet, job satisfaction, which is really, really important. That came up a lot in terms of what employees want out of processes. And the last one, the hidden one that I shared, I'm not comfortable creating or using processes. I don't feel I have the knowledge or skill sets. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say that, but I think it is kind of an underlying objection. And this one just comes down to providing clear training, templates, and resources, which is you. Learning to create and refine processes not only builds confidence, but also adds a valuable skill to their toolkit. It's a stepping stone into other leadership roles, other roles beyond the role that they're in. So if they're an L1, maybe they want to be an L2 or an L3 or an L4. But it allows them to be promotable, and it opens the door to new opportunities. Okay, we've got two more, I think. So there's no consequences for not following the process, so why bother? This is one of those ones where it's like, it's valid, but we got to do some real self-reflection here. And then I said there's another one that kind of goes with this that I've heard before, and it's we've tried processes before and they never stick. kind of the same thing, but I've heard it said both ways. How do we handle this one?
I feel like I'd push back and say that there is consequence for not continuously not following the process would be terms for termination eventually if you're not willing to get on board. So I would push against that. Say actually there is.
Well, I take another approach to it. It's adjacent, which is there is a consequence for not following processes. It may not be obvious, but there's a big consequence for not following process. There's huge drag across the organization. It makes everybody's job harder. It makes our customers less satisfied when we're not following process.
So true. So I said it builds accountability through positive reinforcement and recognition. When processes are followed well and improvements are made, it's an opportunity for employees to stand out and be celebrated. This not only boosts morale, but also sets them up as leaders and role models within the team, paving the way for more opportunities and respect among their peers. The next is right in line with Jonathan. I said you need to build process documentation, adherence, and training into performance reviews. I see this get missed a lot in the organizations that I've worked with, where they want to be a process-forward company, but there's nothing in the performance review that says you have to have your role documented, that you have to be caught up on your training, that you have to follow processes. Like none of that is built into the core of someone's performance review. And so they don't feel like it's something that they have to live by. And so that's something I strongly recommend. Employees need to know and trust that processes are taken very seriously at the organization, at the foundational level of a high growth, high reward company. Okay, this is my last one. And I chuckle at this one because of how I worded it, but I'm judging you. What even is this? And it's a bad process, a boring process, a process that is pages and pages of white text or black text on a white background, and I'm just completely bored and I'm just lost at sea in your process. And I am judging you, and your employees are judging you, and the teams are judging you, and probably the people who hired you might be judging you too. Acknowledge the importance of creating engaging, clear, and relevant processes that reflect the team's needs and expertise. We're super big fans of GIFs here. We put them in everything. Obviously, I've had them all throughout my slides, and some people might think, be on that's unprofessional side of the fence. And some people are like, finally, a presentation that's not super boring. I don't know where you sit, but your employees definitely, especially in the world of social media and being constant scrollers, they don't want to see your pages and pages of text, and they're not going to read it. You can also involve employees in the rewriting or updating of processes to help them kind of make them more fun, more practical, concise, and directly beneficial to them. And then highlight the quality and value of processes by setting standards for clarity, usefulness, and respect for employees' time and skills. When employees are involved in crafting processes that are well-written and purposeful, and yes, fun, they not only find the work less boring, but they also are going to take more pride in the results. This process ownership fosters a sense of respect and value for their contributions, turning processes from a chore into something that reflects their professional expertise. I know when I take training at Trainual that looks a lot like this presentation, where there's GIFs and there's interactive, buttons and videos and things to do, and it's really fun. I feel like they take pride in how I learn, and then I, in turn, take more pride in my role, and I want to meet that level and that standard. Anybody else want to talk through their experience? Because I feel like, we can all level set here that we started with text in a doc somewhere. So somewhere along the way, we were all there at one point. How did you guys take your processes and trainings from that boring nature to being something more fun and engaging that people are actually taking and consuming and adhering to and living by?
We only record our processes in TikTok videos.
Are you being serious?
No.
I was like, no way.
They get watched.
Yeah, for sure.
Silly TikTok flossing dances.
I would be 100% engaged.
Maybe you wouldn't learn the process, but at least you'd watch it.
I don't know. It might be pretty memorable. Anyone else have some ways that you've made your training more engaging. In Trainual, we have over 700 integrations of different things that you can add, elements that you can add to make your trainings more engaging, and I take full advantage of them.
That, to my mind, is a slightly different question. So our process documents are fairly dry, but our training is much more engaging. So we use a variety of things. We take our process and then we turn that into a script where we create a Synthesia video that is an overview of the process. And then we'll create didactic training that is currently recorded in the Reach and Articulate 360 platform. So that's our LMS. And that's, we'll walk through with like basic simple exercises, still mostly book learning, but then some like flashcards and stuff like that that's involved there. And then we are also creating labs, which is manager led, which is kind of like on the job training, but it's a bit more structured.
Interesting. So they're working out of 2 different platforms to get the LMS version of the training and then to actually view the process?
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. If you haven't heard before, training or Trainual is training plus a process manual, which is Trainual. So for our system, it's like all right in one place. So it's always interesting to hear how people do it if they have both an LMS and a process repository. That's cool. Anybody else want to share how they're maybe doing processes differently?
We're not doing it very well. It's kind of why I was interested in this. So I feel like I've got nothing to add here.
I challenge you to put a GIF in one of your trainings. A GIF, a video, something engaging, a poll, something to get people bought in. We also have knowledge checkpoints that we do in Trainual. So, maybe having someone else record a video response back to you. If it's like a salesperson going through a process or a training and it's like, hey, you've gone as far as I want you to go and I want you to show me that you've learned what I've taught you in these steps, and I want you to have a pricing objection conversation with me, and like we'll record a video and then they can record a video back to us. So that's kind of how our training is engaging and our processes as well. But there's a lot of different things you could do. We could probably have a whole conversation on that. So, all right. Little recap of all the motivators that we've kind of touched on throughout our objection conversation. The first, empowerment and autonomy. Processes empower employees to take ownership of their work, navigating any challenges with confidence. Confidence was that word that we said was the theme for most of us at the start of this. And so hopefully we touched on that quite a bit throughout this. Stress reduction and happier humans. Clear processes eliminate guesswork and anxiety, like having a GPS that kind of guides you to your destination without fear of getting lost and having to stop and ask a stranger for directions. I wasn't driving back when that was a thing, but maybe some of you remember. Collaboration and teamwork. Sharing processes fosters a sense of teamwork and healthy collaboration when it matters most. Innovation and skill building. So employees can build upon and innovate as they craft their skills and experiences within the org. Recognition and appreciation. You guys gave so many good examples for how you do this, but contributing to process improvements allows employees to be recognized for their contributions and rewarded for their consistent delivery. Career growth and advancement. So mastering processes can really open doors to new opportunities, new responsibilities, sort of like having the key that unlocks the next level of their professional career journey. Something that a mentor once said to me, if you're not replaceable, you're not promotable. That's kind of harsh, but it's the truth. Streamlined processes help employees work smarter, not harder, giving them more time to focus on other passions. And then we have a sense of purpose and meaning, which is really important for some people, and understanding how their work fits into the big picture and gives them a sense of purpose, like being a crucial piece of an important puzzle. I like to consider myself a high performer, a high IC at our organization. Although I'm now in a leadership role, it's still something that I hang on to, is being able to make a really big impact. And so a lot of high performers are motivated this way. They're not motivated by more money and, more PTO or bonuses or things like that. They kind of know that naturally that just comes with time. And they're motivated by that sense of purpose and impact. And is the work that I'm contributing to actually making a difference? And so I can't stress that one enough because I think it's the most overlooked. Work-life harmony. Efficient processes allow employees to achieve more in less time. So they can do things that fulfill them outside of work, like me with jujitsu. And I'm sure you all have hobbies that you like to step away and be able to participate in, and so do employees. Pride and satisfaction is the last one. Seeing the positive impact of their documented processes gives employees a deep sense of pride and satisfaction in their work, especially if that means they were directly responsible for the success of those who come after them as they level up. So those are the people who are going to, be your mentors or your champions in the organization. So these were the top ones for me. Any motivators that you all feel passionately about that maybe isn't on this list that you would add? We nailed them. All right. I'll take that as a win. Okay. So I touched on this a little bit, and I thought it was important to share with this group. And it's that you'll always run into people in the organization who are kind of wired a little bit like me, where they want to be the champions. They want to make an impact. They're not motivated by some of those other things. This is really near and dear to my heart. It's one of the first projects that I ever worked on with Trainual when I first started at the Trainual organization. And it was because I felt like there were probably so many people that felt like there weren't enough, leadership opportunities to go around, and, they wanted to make more of an impact. And I was really kind of the prototype, like I said, with my chief Air Force mentor that I had for a long time, and I got to kind of be the first champion at our 100-year-old, very rigid, very behind the times company. And I really wanted to bring this process to life, and I got to do that at several companies that I worked for. This is me several years ago on the left, and then a few years later on the right, just doing a lot of continuous improvement and change champion type of work at the PEO firm that I was at. So all of these people actually raised their hand in the organization and said, I'm bought in. I want to document processes. I want to change this company. I want to make an impact, and I want my name to be on that. And the first program that we ever did together, we saved the company $53,000 and $683, which is, you could see in the back behind there. But then we had like a couple other little metrics. I don't remember what they were, and they're kind of cut off. But we had like 4 metrics that we were working on as a team. And this cohort would go through this program for about 3 to 6 months. And then we'd change people, or we'd have them reapply, whatever the case may be. And I built this whole program for you, which I'll show you in a minute, that you can download. But it really walks you through, like, how do you find change champions, and how do you build them, and how do you help them to be successful in the organization? How do you recognize them? Why does it matter to them? But I really think it's important, because running a program like this and actually being the first change champion, if you will, many years ago when I was 19, I firmly believe in my heart of hearts is what led me here to Trainual and being able to talk with you and just hundreds of other companies at scale. So I really believe in the power of change champion programs. And so this is me almost a decade later, standing in front of the Trainual team, joining them, and being able to take this mission on the road and share it with more people, which I think is so cool. But here it is. It is the Change Champion program. So I personally believe that change champions are the key to making processes stick, which we talked about before, and recognizing them in a way that just feels different and unique and really special. And I think we all kind of know that not everyone can move into leadership. And so sometimes that's like the carrot, right, that we kind of dangle over people, is like, do you want to be a leader someday? And if that just feels like it's out of reach, and, well, there's, only X amount of leaders and they've all been here for, 10 years or 15 years or whatever, it could be really hard for people to see that next phase of growth. But it's not out of reach to become a champion and to really step your toes into leading in that way. And this program really helps highlight and reward your top performers and your process advocates. And these champions connect leadership and the team when it comes to building a process playbook. And so I think that these are your best bet in helping to kind of bridge that gap and close that gap, like we talked about. So to help you get started, we have this free guide that covers everything from picking the champions to recognizing their ability to lead process. We'll help you identify all of the things that are in a strong champion. And plus, we've got a free template, documented process, if you will, for how to launch the program internally in your organization as well. But I was stoked to put this together because when I came to Trainual, I really just wanted to, like I said, impact more people and to be able to offer this freely. It's definitely a customer favorite too. It's opened a lot of doors for me from some of our top customers that have said, oh my gosh, I did the Change Champion program and I turned it into the training program, or I turned it into the, EOS adopters program and got all of our employees to adopt EOS, or whatever it is that they're using this program to implement in their organization. They've shared those success stories with me, and I've had some of the best conversations. And so very near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to be able to bring this to you all as well. So take a look, give me your feedback, let me know what you think.
Mallory, Jason just put a question in the chat. That QR code, is that supposed to go to a LinkedIn page?
Nope, it's not. It was working. I checked all of them. I don't know why it's not working now. At the end of this, I'll drop the direct link in the chat. Okay. When I get through this. I think I've got that on standby, that link. All right. So jot down someone on your team who has done a great job of documenting and championing your processes or a team that you serve. And do me a favor after this and reach out to them and recognize them today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not, okay, I'll do it on Monday, but reach out to them today after this call and let them know what an example they are. Or you can send that feedback to their manager. However, your relationship kind of works with the team. But I just want you to recognize someone who is a true champion and has kind of helped you to build processes and design trainings and do all of the things that maybe we think about on the other side, the growth, the scalability, the retention, all of those things, they're driving an impact there. I want you to reach out and recognize them. Hopefully everybody has somebody that comes to mind. If not, I encourage you to pay more attention to that. But at the end of the day, processes are more than just guidelines or tools for company growth, bottom line, all those jazzy buzzwords that we talked about. They're a necessary way to protect your team's most valuable assets for them, their time, their energy, their overall well-being. Encourage your team to communicate how these new processes will ease their workload, reduce stress, foster better work-life balance. I've got to stop saying balance. It's better work-life harmony, because balance is a tricky thing, and unlock new opportunities for professional growth. Actively listen, acknowledge their insights, and make their mission to refine and document processes in a way that directly supports those needs. So your mission should directly support those needs that they're expressing. When you shift the narrative from processes being some kind of burdensome task that only benefits the company's bottom line to an empowering resource created with your team's best interest in mind, they not only follow them, but they'll champion them. And this is how you get them to not just accept processes, but rise above and exceed those processes and expectations, and even fall in love with process documentation. Okay, I'm praying this QR code works. This one should take you to your free copy of Chris's book. Chris is our founder at Trainual. It's called The Business Playbook. It's how to document and delegate what you do so your company can grow beyond you. My gift to you for hanging out with me today. Let me know if the QR code doesn't work. But we will, if you fill that out, we will mail you a free copy of the business playbook. I wrote down some names of some folks that participated. So I'll be sending out some emails too with some swag, some Trainual swag, a little code for you to shop our swag shop. You can't get a cool vest like this. We were talking about this when I first joined. You only get it when you have been at Trainual for 1 year. But there's a lot of other amazing swag. We're kind of known for our shirts and sweatshirts and things like that. So I'll send out some codes for that. But this offer is only for the folks who joined and hung out with us live today. So this will be deactivated in a little bit. So if you're going to do it right now.
Got to figure out how to use a QR code on my computer without my phone because I left it in the other room. I can do it later. I took a screenshot.
Okay, cool. You could always email me too, and I could send you the link. Give you just another minute before I close this out. Actually, while you're doing that, let me go find the Change Champion link, because what a bummer. Okay. I'm going to drop that in the chats. That Change Champion guide is in the chat, and there's some cool templates baked in there too, which are awesome. Some process templates that we've already documented for you. All right. Before I close this out, does everybody have the form pulled up for the swag and the copy of the business playbook? Okay. All right. What do we think? Anybody want to share like their biggest takeaway?
I think framing what's in it for the employee or that individual contributor, making sure that's always top of mind as we roll out not only just this component around processes, but other pieces as well.
Yeah, even towards the end here, just you asking about who's done a good job with process already. I had 4 names that are all leaders on my leadership team. And so I think that was both encouraging and also clarifying that I am really looking to try and ensure that their efforts don't go, unnoticed, but also not wasting their efforts either, making sure they're set up with the right tools, and a clear vision so that they don't put a bunch of effort into something that isn't maintained, sustained, or kind of deployed.
4 names. You started as a high achieving IC somewhere along the way, didn't you? Love to see it. Thank you. I'm excited for them to get that recognition. I know it's going to be special.
I think for me, one of the takeaways was just making sure that they're not boring, like between video or animations or other ways to do that, and how my makeup is like you just do it because it's the right thing to do and it's how to, but that's not everybody. And so to be able to make it so that it's engaging for others probably means it's going to be more successful.
So you felt a little judged? It's okay.
No, I mean, we're kind of at the beginning stages of really getting into this. So it's like a good challenge at the right time.
I love that.
For us, we started with training a little bit ago, but we're like in the early stages of process. So it's kind of good to put this in the forefront of the champion thing. We've been discussing it, and I think now it's a good time for me to kind of say who really wants to be a leader out of this and go in that mentality versus everybody write down what you're going to do, and we'll go back over it. And I think it's a good timing.
So you're a Trainual customer, Kyle?
We are.
Awesome. Well, if you ever want to chat,
Probably like your worst.
Go ahead.
Probably your worst customer, because we didn't realize how far off on processes we were until we started. When I said 2 people doing the same thing, we have 2 dispatchers and both of them work 2 different jobs. So there was a realignment, I think, that had to start before we could get into it. But
Well, if you ever want to chat process or the Change Champion program and kind of my experience with it, I love to nerd out about that. So feel free to reach out to me and book some extra time, and I'd love to chat with you about it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So do you actually, I maybe had missed it. I was scanning through what you had sent, but do you actually like kind of help foster those change champions and like a program to be advocates for their specific businesses? Is that right?
Do I do that, or is that what the program is designed to do?
Yeah. Is that what the program is designed to do? Or is it just content to help, like content, or is there actually like you were saying there's cohort, so that's an active program?
Yeah, so the Change Champion program guide that we have really kind of explains the high level of like why you put it together, what's important to focus on, like some of the macro stuff. And then the template that's baked in there, there's a link to a template for how you implement it. That's more of a rollout to your leadership and your ICs on, hey, we're invested in putting together some sort of, change champion program, however you kind of mold it to be what suits you. I think everybody I've talked to, all of our customers who've used it, have molded it to be something, that they've wanted. Some people even rename it. They don't call it change champions. Some people call it training champions or process champions or whatever the case may be. Change champions is pretty near and dear to my heart because I think everything kind of evolves around change. But that template allows you to kind of implement it in your organization and kind of get everybody on board and understand the process and get trained up on it and be able to like roll it out to the team. So there's two parts. There's the guide and then there's the template for the team. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like there's a lot that you can do and customize with it. So that's great. Awesome. Well, it's that time already. That went pretty quickly. I just put up a quick poll. If you could take that would be great. We appreciate the feedback and helps us to continue to hone these to make them better and better as we go. And if there are any questions, Mallory, do you have like a contact information that anybody can reach out to you? I think you had shared your LinkedIn at the beginning as well, but
yeah, unintentionally shared it twice. But that is probably the best way to reach out to me is through LinkedIn. But you can also email me. So it's super simple. It's mallory@trainual.com. And I'm happy to email you as well. So whichever is your flavor.
awesome. Yeah, so I'll leave this poll up here for just 30 more seconds. If you could take it for us, that would be greatly appreciated. Mallory, really appreciate your time and taking us through this content and looking forward to sharing it with everybody else in our hub as well next week. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. As an IC and a contributor, if you will, I don't get a lot of opportunities to present. I'm more of somebody who likes to kind of roll up my sleeves and get in the nitty gritty. And I think that's where I shine. So if you have any feedback for me on how I could improve my presenting skills or kind of make it more engaging or anything like that, definitely send those to me via LinkedIn or shoot me an email and say, hey, I loved this, but could have done this differently. I am a feedback sponge, so I love it, even if it's super direct.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you and have a great rest of your day, everybody.